20 pros in their hands, trying to outplay the rest with the best phone in the business. And you're going to need that A-game, Blank.
Specifically for Alpha 7, they are bringing the A-game. They are the Alpha and not the Omega here. Taking things to the very top of the leaderboards. 136 points, a heavy chase to make for Reject. 109 points. 27 points behind. That would be a 17 elim game and a chicken dinner just for Reject to break even at this point. So Reject needs to have a good game here on our angle, and Alpha 7 need to go down early. So I think with that first game of the day, Alpha 7 has set themselves up in such good stead. But this is going to be hard to break out from for Reject, and they are almost relying on Alpha 7 making mistakes now.
You have to play your best and hope that mistakes are made across Alpha 7. I don't think they're the sort of squad that are going to want to make concessions, though, with how good they've looked coming into today, and especially the triumphant performance they put on to close yesterday's games. Although, we talk about Elims being the big piece of the puzzle for Reject, they still currently lead with most eliminations over this portion. They've been looking very mean. If you give them an opportunity to fight, oh, that's not nice. We join the game with Twisted Minds going down one man. It's Ratto Boy on his own. He's been bonneted.
Honestly, Twisted Minds, they just cannot find a home, right? At this point in time. Not at all. Your Reject stuck in towards the mix there as well. With DXavier, Twisted Minds, DRX all surrounding them. Bit of an awkward location to be in with a southeast circle here. Leaning over towards Sosnovka. Alpha 7 has a long trip ahead of them. But in a sense, have a safer trip if they head over towards Severny, past Yaz, potentially take the Eastern Bridge. For Reject, this is actually a bit more of a tough game in the sense that there's quite a few teams around them that might gatekeep them as they head into the circle. Looks like they are sending further up towards Rozhok. This is a really long drop from them. They're still in parachutes, Jackie.
Yeah, they're still soaring through the skies. I think they saw what was going down beneath them and how close the density was of the other squads that dropped around, and have changed pace on where they wanted to go. Coasting, using that power of the wind all the way up towards Rozhok to reposition themselves and think about getting looted a little bit later into this one.
Yeah, that's a really, really long drop from them. Amusing to see. Ow. The ankle buster, we call that one.
Yeah, never nice. Never nice.
IDBNRX. You know, they've come out and they've performed pretty well. And I think that if you looked at the leaderboards right now, we talk a lot about Alpha 7 and Reject because really they are the only two teams going to task one another towards the top side of the lobby. There's still a huge amount of movement underneath there, right? Third place at present is 88 points. That drops to 79 in fourth. If we go down to, let's say, 11th place and 12th, 61 points to 79, 12th to 4th place. That's a game. That's just a pretty standard game. So there's a lot that can still change up to 4th place right now, which would be a huge jump in prize pool. So although a lot of eyes are on Alpha 7 and Reject, because for both teams, there has been a Shakespeare story written out for us right now with PMGO and Alpha 7 not being able to secure that first place for so very long. There is also a huge amount of movement that can still happen.
We were saying that over the course of the event, really. It's looked so competitive amongst these teams. And there is a lot of room. The difference in prize money, the difference in bragging rights.
Enormous.
Oh yeah, man. You really do want to give it your absolute all. Put the blood, sweat and tears into the final day here. It's Championship Sunday, Blank. You got to give it everything you've got. Ride by the seat of your pants, basically.
Do whatever works. Do whatever you can to make it. Oh, okay. It's the peloton.
It's the BMX Bandits.
It is the BMX Bandits. Dude, what a play that was. You know, they all rocked up, they all put the mountain bikes in the backpack, they got on the boat. It's like, you can't take a car with you, but you can take the bikes. Smart moves from Alliance, and they get themselves over towards Nova Neuer. Solid position. Not seen that before. That's one of my favorite moments from the tournament.
Yeah, that was actually kind of cool. Good catch from the replay team there on the observing squad.
Yeah, big thumbs up.
That one, that was nice.
Alpha 7 do actually instead just opt to go for a southern rotate because things really opened up around Gatka and they just flew right in. There is Vampire, Power and DRX, though I believe Alpha 7's feeling fairly confident coming into this game. They spot Newsy off in the distance. He's located. Information's passed back as they head towards the showrooms.
Grelling got eyes on to Newsy, but the rest of the squad was a bit further back, and with the geometry there, they were tucked in a little bit behind the hillside. Mafioso moves up with Revo in the passenger seat, and they're going to look for the info, see if they can get the wide berth round on the edge of things.
I like this.
Assess where they are. Yeah, they spot them now.
Good distraction from the two players in behind, and now there. And a daisy chaining to one another. Tony K, though, spots. Actually has some good shots on, but very, very good spray control there from McGrellan to sit him back down again. That could have been very dangerous if it wasn't for the on-target spray there from McGrellan.
And that was their big gambit as well. Tony K on the late peak up with the rest of them moving out. You know, that's your reliance on him doing something pretty unthinkable with a weapon. And would there be anyone else better for it? Like, Tony K's actually proven damn good with the gun skill. That's uncomfortable. He heals himself back up. Fair play to McGrellan on target, even factoring in the momentum as he's driving by.
Yeah.
IWNRX on screen here. Tong Jiabao, a bit slower from what we saw yesterday. They had some highlight moments. Got to say to them, you know, the nades that we were seeing, the way Flower was pulling out some big plays. It felt like it was all coming together yesterday, Blank.
Yeah, Flower has been pollinating the entirety of the lobby at the moment.
I like that one. Well done.
And honestly, he's done very well with it. And I think that he has had a big step up during this tournament, and Tongjiba has looked very, very strong. They weren't able to kind of carry across some of that strength from day one into day 2 and 3. Stagnated a little bit, I would say, but I think for a 5th place at the moment with the opportunity to potentially drop up into a 3rd, I still think that's a really big result for Tong Jiabao at the end of this one for China, when there just really wasn't a massive amount of stock placed in either of these teams of Tiamba and Tong Jiabao coming before into this event. And right now the two Chinese teams, like brothers in arms, are sat very close to one another in the leaderboards. It's nice. It is really nice. Second circle will shift on down, and it's an awkward one. Splits between both the mainland and the island itself down towards that south side. That's an interesting one to play. Alpha 7 now in a situation where this rotate that they're going for down towards the south side no longer feels as impactful.
An awful lot of water fragmenting both the playable spaces. Hang on though, Boom are out to play. They swoop in onto Liquid and look to bring the hurt straight towards them. There's a bit of a reply, and it's uncomfortable when they jump out from the vehicle as well for Boom. So problems are rising. Oh, Cardozin taking shots back onto the fragmented players. Trying to get the line up onto the man in the vehicle as well for Boom. They thought they might have had the edge on this one. Now it's panic stations. It's all about, can I get the boys back up and actually withstand the might of Liquid that still have a split with Chief and Cardozin alive and kicking. He's closing the distance with the DBS. He's good for that cleanup.
Where's Chief?
Where is he? He's in the back line.
Taking so long to make his way over. You imagine some information's been passed through, but shots from Linux might just end the story here for Team Liquid. After a really valiant haul versus Boom, but they explode into nothingness during this match. As Talon might be the one to pick up the eliminations off the back of this one, currently sat in 3rd place.
They go charging in, looking to decimate what remains of the Boom squad down to 2. Quick peek, assess the overall move up, see if they can hold back Talon. Boom got nades to bring to the table. Linux might take that one on the chin. Nice tag there, you open it up. fragmenting a lot of these potential peaks as well. But Boom struggling with one man down. Yummy also now gone. And Talon not doing it as cleanly as they would have liked to actually give themselves those elims and a fair firefight towards the end.
The Indonesian rivalry comes to a head here during this fight, and I mean, that's what makes it difficult. You play very similarly, Jackie, over in your respective PMSLs. So in a fight like that, it does get sloppy, it does get messy, because the reads into either team are kind of what they would expect in an international tournament like this. Two players, Razy, left alive here for Boom as Talon just backs off. One of their players fully knocked and bleeding.
A lot of distance between them as well, so no potential. He's going to go down. So Boom with two. Misery jumping in the back of the vehicle. Axel starting to make his move on foot. Luckily a vehicle nearby, so he can jump back into that and try and piece out. Ooh, a bit of a pathway on the rotate as well here for Boom as they're going down. Twisted Minds. Yeah, they lost Ratto Boy super early into the game, but the trio of them are still alive, and they're going to have to basically race their way across that bridge.
This is a really horrid circle, honestly, Jackie. Very difficult to play. You got the bridge over towards that northern side, which this circle can still center up on, by the way, at this point in time. And a massive amount of teams all trying to vie for that high ground down towards the south side on this island. Twisted Minds, they pick up some players from Boom as they rotate in together.
Oh, mate. Unload him with a shotty. Boom did not want any of that smoke. They just wanted to get themselves into the zone. They were focusing on just breezing ahead, but they're not only leaving behind their teammates, they might be leaving behind their chance to acclimate more points inside of this game.
Reject at the moment in the water. Slowly just making their way under, playing the submarine gameplay. They dive underneath, swim on through towards the coastal side. Alliance are ready and waiting for them, though, as Talon have a similar approach here, and they rock up over towards the cliff, and I don't think Reject expected it. They waited as long as possible to make this move, but with Talon coming in so late, they might actually spot them making this cross, and if they take shots, then they alert a lot of teams to their presence. Alpha 7, on the other hand, nice little crossing that they made. Yes, it's awkward because there's teams around this area, but I wonder how many noticed the crash from the crossing. DRX should have eyes on. They should know of this position. There's scouting going on from McGrellan.
Power. Ooh, thought they had a nice bit of track and trace here on Alula XIHC. Nade through the window. So low on Fadan. So that's going to take him down. Boom, now completely out of the running as well as GK first from Tongjia Bao spots the last man that was barely limping his way into the new zone. And Power with a lot of pressure on them. They've got to get their teammate back up, see if they can revive Fadan and then focus on the fight that is yet to come. Godless, quick on his feet with the backup of the rest of Alula XIHC, closing the distance and bringing the pain towards Power.
Power just dropping the minefields underneath to delay. Smoke goes up as well. Trying to remain as hidden as possible. Alula IHC throwing some interesting grenades through. Not really getting a whole lot done from these either. Godless underneath, the smoke just about to dissipate, but did get the full refresh. Decent nade, but not on target.
Meanwhile, we spoke about that water crossing for Reject. Talon were able to spot Divine, and he takes a hit. So Divine down. We'll see how that one pans out. And the battle between those two seems like it's getting worse for Reject as well, with Alliance being able to punish onto them and Misery shutting down Ocio. The clash between Power and Alula XIHC continuing in the meanwhile. Trades between either sides as the shotguns are roaring through the close competition. Divine goes down, problems arising all over the battlefield here. And Alula XIHC finally bringing out the mop and bucket to try and clean up against Power.
Very nicely done there. Again, I feel bad for Reject on this crossing because Talon has played a weird game this tournament. They played a very weird game in the way they get caught up in fights. They stay in these fights for so long. Reject tried to clear as much as possible before they made this rotation. And this is just where it's unlucky. Because as soon as these shots starts ringing through, Alliance immediately have a good idea of where that team is, where they're playing, and they take shots back. So that element of surprise is just gone. Talon's playing spoiler in this match.
Luckily for them, Misery does go down. He was out of meds, out of bandages. So the zone will be able to talk him down to that knocked state. His teammate not really in a great spot to be able to do too much for him as well. It's going to be a long one for Axel, quite a distance between him and Reject. But then the problem comes the fact that they can get sponged up by Jimmy, who pushed down towards the coastal side for Alliance and should have a good idea of how to tidy up the rest of Reject that remain.
Yeah, Alpha 7 might be able to just end the tournament right here now, though.
Yeah.
Because with the position they're in, where they can slide up on the coastal side, on this western edge, with so many other teams not having that safety net of having like the 180, having your back against the blue, knowing that that area has been cleared out and is safe. Yeah, a lot of these other teams are going to start to go down. This can still move up towards the bridge. This is a very difficult circle to play. So much open ground. Derek's currently holding on to that high ground over towards that eastern side, which is going to be really, really important to continue controlling. Tiamba shots over towards 4MV. This is down on that south side. Alpha 7 might want to get involved.
They did take a first hit across. They got a tag out onto Tiamba and were able to knock one of the players. So Alpha 7 are starting to play their cards. Not fully committing into it, but realizing this is an opportunity potentially to get some more points on this one and still have a good bit of map control. Tongji about out again as they go down. Only 2 elimination points to their name. This is Alliance. We're waiting for that cross, and Sara gets slain. He's knocked, not recoverable for Duello. Hard commits onto it as well, so he's taken out. Tiamba, it's really getting rough for him. For Miracle Vibes, inflicting a ton of damage, and the chase begins for Alpha 7.
For Alpha 7, it's just been a very, very good match so far. And honestly, a smart rotation. You can't fault them for the rotation they went for. You can't fault them for the fact that they were able to immediately spot onto Tony Kate's position and get a good shot back off towards him. It is Refus, though, to put Mafioso out. McGrellin immediately goes for the rotate, for the recovery on his teammate as well.
Refus couldn't re-peek. He took so much damage, he barely gets himself out of the uncomfortable zone as well from the bullets that are being shot across by Revo.
Reject out. They go down. It looks like it is going over towards that bridge side. Vampire consistently are a conversation starter in these games, as they will pick up over towards that bridge. But a very hard shift away from Alpha 7 in this match. Not that it matters. If only they just profit a little bit on this game. Already into a top 7, they've done well. But I think with the way they've been playing, I don't even think a circle like this is going to stop them, really, Jackie. They've been fairly indomitable over the past few matches. Very difficult to deal with. 4MV got one shot off before they absolutely bullied them out of position. And now looking to clean them off from this high ground.
If you take a fight with Alpha 7, you better hope you take down the whole squad, or else you're putting a huge X on your back, and they will want to swoop into you. McGrellin, he's the opening gambit, goes up close, hopping out the vehicle, but is slain. Not just a knock, a full elimination. So only a trio remains. Mafioso taking damage. Here comes the Bonnet. The double rundown as Alpha 7 get mulled over.
Alpha 7 caught up in the wheels and caught up in their own confidence as perhaps they pushed into 4MV a little bit too lackadaisical there. A bit unfortunate. However, no real bad moments for either team there. I think for Alpha 7 Reject, they're in the exact same position they started off this game on. And Alpha 7's not unhappy with that. It's still a very difficult task for Reject to catch them up. Vampire, though, looking to climb the rankings even further.
Good center position so far. Decent cover as well from the water side, where Alula SIHC are slowly coming from, taking the odd pot shot here and there, but it's incredibly uncomfortable for them. You've got Alliance that have been down on the coast for so long. And for Miracle Vibes, Have they got some newfound energy? As DRX might want to test how handy they are with their steel.
The 7 limbs right now for MV. Very nicely done. This was this crazy buggy rundown. If you didn't go down to the shots going through from the gun, it would have gone down to the wheels either way. So a good performance there from 4MV. Who need a miracle, honestly, at this point.
Yeah, they do. Potentially 4 of them to get them back into the game. 12th place currently. Looking to climb up a little bit, secure some more prize money. Gets a bit awkward in the engagement versus DRX. Fragmented with Baron trapped in the gulch towards the middle. QZZ battling bullets back as well. Fires off those warning shots.
Alula XIHC got Zol. I love the way Rogue and Zol's playing just over on this tiny little barren rock, which is actually giving them a position to take shot from, and they're doing work with it, actually. It's so funny. But sometimes you gotta take what you're given in these matches, and this is not a bad spot, honestly. All things considered. We finally move away from the water. Vampire have a very strong position to play around with, but Xavier can still take up that ridge, that high ground. The 4MV and DRX are currently battling over.
And it wasn't looking great for quite some time here for Miracle Vibes. They were constantly getting knocked, getting each other back up, trying to top their HP pools up. But they do get a clean connection across now onto Hyunbin, and he's not recoverable, but it's a denied elimination point that will be snatched away by Alula XIHC. DXavier with the nades, casting them across. Looking to find where exactly everyone from Miracle Vibes is and see if they can pounce on them. DRX move back down to give themselves a little bit of cover to play with, realizing their backs were so exposed to the water side where Alula XIHC were playing from. They're going to have to move eventually, though. Can't stay on that island anymore.
Not available. And I think that they'd managed to do quite a bit. To be honest with you, the time they spent there. Demo's in a really nasty little position. But there's so many shots going his way. Vampire, they take a knock right now, as Alliance have played this game pretty slow, but fairly smartly over towards that northeast side, taking advantage of that compound that was set up there for a long, long time to give them the space that they needed in this match to thrive. I think a team that has absolutely thrived and survived is Alula IHC from a position where, to be honest, they really shouldn't have done.
No, definitely not. Risky maneuvers as desperate times call for desperate measures for Demo. He jumps in the vehicle with the buggy, puts the pedal down, tries to close the gap, give himself some cover, but exposed to so many angles, they eventually get the knock onto him. The rest of his teammates barely trying to complete their pathway, that long swim to the island itself so they can fight and get involved here. Whilst Alliance, they're revving the engines, putting more pressure onto Vampire.
Alliance, this is an unfortunate way this tournament's panned out, from 1st to 16th place in the group stage to the finals. Sometimes the pressure does get to you, as Apex feels all too well as DXavier looks to crest this ridge side.
Lamborghini. Shots down onto Baron. Doesn't need to see him. He'll just take the vehicle out to blow him away. And for Miracle Vibes might have caused issues over the course of this one. But they won't have much more room now. Down with 8 eliminations as their total tally there. Trying to peel ahead towards the lower echelons of the overall standings. And this is so awkward for Alula XIHC. You're in a really horrible spot. Just Zol basically in the water waiting for nades.
Still, 5th place is not bad, and that's the nade that came through. He was waiting for it. The delivery's right on time from Vampire, who stake their claim over towards the northern edge of the map around this bridge. Alliance, though, have done a great job to stop them from taking too much advantage of that positioning. MG9 here for Shadows, to potentially take some shots through. Cluck on the low ground, supporting the rest of his teammates. DXavier, though, with this side swipe, Jackie.
And for how many fights we've seen DRX thrown into, it's crazy. They haven't even been able to secure themselves one elimination from other teams like DXavier, like Alula XIHC, stealing those away at every opportunity. And that duo, yeah, they're really feeling the damage right now. Alliance lose one man. He's brought down to his knees. Ooh, hello. That's quite a nice little angle. trying to see if he could get a clean shot across. Not going to work too well, but DRX do take pot shots from the other side as they're forced to peek into one of these two.
Just blasting the bullets out, as is Schweppes, who is very low on the ammo count now. Good explosion from Soaz. We'll finish off Newsy. Tony K playing alongside with Schweppes now. Final two players from Vampires as DXavier set themselves up to finish out this game strong here, Jackie. Currently in 8th place, 72 points. Could hit up towards a 4th place here.
They could climb up. Finding good Elim points as well. 6 to their name. Vampire with 5. But Vampire are just down to Tony K. Tony K, can you slay and stay alive as a solo? I mean, he switched on for the fight for DXavier. They fragment themselves, trying to get a better overall look at everyone. And that means they're a little bit more susceptible to these hits, but he's got to run a real gauntlet blank the entirety of Alliance ahead of him. And they've got nades as well. Molotov's going to go in, should be on target. That's a lot of time, and you're burning.
Yeah.
Down and out. Goodbye, Vampire.
That was a nice molly to just remove that player from a very difficult position, because now Alliance are no longer stuck in some nasty spots down towards that north side, but in come DXavier. They don't want to let Alliance get out and into position. With the boys from Vampires looking over towards their spots for a long, long time, DXavier send in, cause a little bit of commotion, but immediately double back here, Jackie, towards that high ground, allowing Alliance a little bit more time to regroup, refigure out what they want to do with this spot. Very interesting.
We'll see how this benchmark affects things then. Any 14s to work with. Grabbing themselves the last few dribs of utility as well, slowly ushered forward. That's the spot onto the remaining man for DRX as well. Lamborghini would take that one in his stride. If he can get the full knock across, that's an extra point, and you've still got this elevated angle.
Honestly, I think that was the opportunity there for DXavier. As soon as Alliance finishes with that fight, they're all on the low ground. They're not in the greatest of spots. This next circle comes through, forces DXavier off the high ground. But I think if they were a little bit more confident, potentially they could take that fight with Alliance. And now they're sending in down the hill. They realize that there's a little ridge there that they'd have loved to have had earlier. But Alliance have been prepared for them. Curious ending here now for DXavier.
I mean, the timing on it was a bit of a blessing. The only issue could be that solo Dolo, the last man from DRX, because he's throwing nades towards Lamborghini's position. So even though he got the timing to get down there, you feel uncomfortable from the back line. He's just spamming bullets across. Alliance, meanwhile, taking the odd peek here or there. It's baiting out a lot of these shots from the players that are still up on high that are going to have to move eventually. You're fragmenting your front line, making it easier for Alliance to take individual 1v1s, 2v1s. There's the knock back onto DRX.
Yeah.
But can you take the big piece of the picture, which is actually guaranteeing yourself this game?
Shadow's out now. I don't know, man. It just feels weird. Wow, he's alive. Paragin lives that one. Shrapnel sticking out from his side, but continues to limp forward. DXavier, by backing off, might have just lost themselves the game here, rather than taking the initiative in that moment. Great nade from Paragin, though.
He survived. So much damage from the nade that landed on top of him. And his nades are really worth their weight in gold, but they're going for the pick-me-up on Leon's. They sprint over. That one pretty damn close to Paragin. Follow-ups coming in. They're able to save the life of Leon's and then reinstigate the firefight, dealing with DXavier pretty cleanly now. Alliance want to shut this one down. They think mistakes were made for DXavier, but on the peak up, Lamborghini tries to clutch it. Not going to happen. Chicken dinner goes the way of Alliance.
Alliance just played that game very, very well. And I think that even just from the start of that game, as soon as they hear Talon taking shots over towards Reject, they instantly turn, they clear out that side of the map. They play a slow game down towards the bridge, but DXavier not forcing the issue after they just finished their fight with Vampire felt a bit strange to me. We saw them try to get set up in that position, but by the time they were starting to come off from that high ground, it was already way, way too late, because they all had eyes on. They had 4 separate angles to peek up onto them. Shadows goes down immediately. You lose your big gun in the MG9, and yeah, life gets tough from that moment.